Before music there was breath, not the breath of lungs, but the breath of space itself, vast, unhurried, and full of listening. Darkness lay like velvet on an unmade bed, and in that darkness waited a question that did not yet know its words. Time stood beside it, hand on a door that had not been invented. Silence pressed its ear to what would one day be a heartbeat. And in the center of everything that was not yet a thing, a seed of sound slept like a pearl inside a closed shell. It is said that the first light began as a memory of warmth. No flame, a wish that remembered how to glow. From that wish rose a hum so low it could not be heard, only felt the way mountains feel snow and oceans feel the moon. The hum coiled around itself, a serpent learning to be a circle. It gathered darkness the way a mother gathers cloth around a child. It learned patience, and patience learned to shine. Then, without hurry and without haste, the hum exhaled. The breath became a spark. The spark became a tone. The tone became a horizon you could hear. From that horizon, the first singer opened her eyes. She had no name, only a direction, outward. Her body was not flesh but brightness braided with shadow. Her hair a river of dust that had not yet learned to fall. When she moved, distances happened. When she blinked, numbers learned to count. She sang a note the size of a cradle, and space remembered how to hold. She sang a note the size of a question, and time remembered how to answer. She sang a note the size of a home, and gravity, shy, gentle, and inevitable, stepped forward to keep the promise of together. Dust woke in that music and began to gather like thoughts. They collided softly, then boldly, then with the joy of recognition. Each meeting wrote a warmer word across the dark. Heat threaded the gatherings like a needle teaching cloth to become a garment. Some gatherings learned to burn.
They called themselves stars, not from pride but from relief. To burn, they discovered, is to finally remember your own name out loud. Around these fires drifted small companions, cool as sleep, bright as possibility. Planets hummed in their own rounds, spheres of listening that would someday dream of listeners. The first singer walked among her notes, and shaped them with a palm made of silence. She cupped a nebula like a candle and blew very gently. It bloomed into spirals, arms of stardust reaching without grasping, curves so patient they became kindness. Within one such bloom, she traced a path that wound around itself like a story that refuses to end. "This shall be a river of light," she whispered, "a school for worlds, a cradle that remembers every lullaby it has ever sung." Her finger, made of dawn, named it without language. The Milky Way began to learn its own footsteps. In that river, newly lit and still shy, two small notes found one another, a pair of tones so close they could have been a single breath. They circled, then paused, then circled again, as if embarrassed to be so near to so much forever. "Are we alone?" asked the first, a bell of silver, wondering if it is a bell at all. "For now," answered the second, a drum the size of a teacup, "but not for long." They did not know they were clouds. They did not know they would become suns. They only knew the comfort of an orbit, and the way harmony turns distance into belonging. Far away, a darker region stirred, not evil, only unsung. Silence still lived there, curling like a cat at the feet of possibility. The first singer went to it and sat. She did not demand it sing. She waited with it,
sharing her breath until silence discovered it was not empty, only resting. At last it opened one eye and spoke. If I sing, will I disappear? The singer took its hand. If you sing, she said, you will become many. And so the rests between the notes entered the song, and the music grew rooms where futures could sleep. The newborn stars began to throw their light across the halls of space, sunlight traveling like birds released from gentle hands. Some of it flew forever and became starlight, letters from the past that would one day arrive at eyes. Some of it curled back into clouds, and taught them how to ignite with gratitude. Where light met dust, colors woke. Blue learned to be the courage of heat. Gold learned to be the comfort of distance. Red learned to be the kiss of memory. In a curl of that river, a small blue dream rehearsed its lines. It practiced being warm without burning, solid without forgetting how to flow. It found itself sticky with oceans and decorated with cloud thoughts. Continents rose like sleeping animals rolling over to hear a lullaby. The first singer bent close. Someday, she told it, you will teach the song a new instrument. Listening. The dream shivered in its seas, though it knew not why. It would be a long while yet. Patience braided its hair with tides. Elsewhere, older fires finished their verses. They pulled their heat inward like robes at evening, and laid their brightness gently on the floor. When they left, they did not leave empty. They wrote in gravity and gold, in iron for the cores of worlds, in calcium for the laughter of bones. Even departures are a kind of generosity. The singer thanked them. In the long quiet after their bows, she heard echo notes ring off into distances, and seed new choirs where no halls had stood.
The Milky Way, young and already remembering, spun like a dancer who has discovered her skirt. Arm by arm, she learned grace. She gathered clusters the way a storyteller gathers children, drawing them near with the promise of warmth and wonder. Sometimes she wobbled. Sometimes she flared. Sometimes she opened a window called supernova and let the night look in. She was not perfect. She was practicing. All creation is practice, performed beautifully enough to be mistaken for certainty. At last the first singer rested. She stood at the edge of her own music and listened. The hum that had been a spark was now a choir, and the choir carried itself. She placed her hand on the heart of the galaxy. It answered with a slow, kind rhythm, not loud, not small, only sure. Continue, she whispered. Even when no one is listening, continue, for listening will come. She turned to you then, though you were not yet born, and the word for you had not learned its shape. Sleep, she said gently, and remember this when you wake. You were written by a song that trusted silence. So rest now, listener. Let your breath fall into step with the long spiral. If a softness rises behind your eyes, it is starlight remembering where to go. If a warmth gathers in your chest, it is gravity promising to hold what you are. The first singer is still here. She waits at the edge of your dreams, patient as dusk, bright as a promise kept. When the night feels too wide, touch the window. The light that reaches you has traveled ages to become a lullaby. Between your heartbeat and the quiet beyond the walls, the Milky Way keeps time.
Before the fire, there was only the echo of warmth, a thought waiting for courage. It had heard the first singer's lullaby and wanted to answer. But answers, like stars, require risk. So the spark trembled inside the void, unsure if it could bear its own brightness. The dark whispered, "Stay." The silence whispered, "Wait." And yet, The spark exhaled, a breath so small that the universe tilted to hear it. From that breath came color. Not yet flame, not yet light. A shimmering uncertainty that hummed the shape of hope. The spark stretched. It touched the edges of itself and found more edges still. It folded, unfurled, spun, collided, and from the collision came rhythm. Every beat said I am, and with each I am, the dark grew less alone. The first flame was not born in violence. It bloomed like thought, gentle, astonished, curious. It reached for the dark the way dawn reaches for the sea, not to erase it, but to make it visible. And the dark, seeing its own reflection in that glow, smiled. Now there was light, and light began to move like breath. It expanded and rested, a lung made of possibility. The pulse became pattern, and pattern became song. Every atom joined the rhythm, vibrating with purpose it did not yet understand. Hydrogen whispered to helium, helium answered in harmony. Their conversation burned, and that burning became story. Every flame was a word, every explosion a sentence, every nova a declaration that the void had found language. The first fire did not burn to destroy. It burned to know. Each time it reached out, it met resistance. The soft gravity that held it close, the tender shadow that shaped its edges. It learned that to exist was not to consume, but to exchange. To give warmth and receive space. To illuminate and be defined by darkness. So fire and night fell in love. Their dance wrote the blueprint of time. A slow, spiraling duet that even the gods would one day envy.
In the quiet after that first rhythm, the singer of creation returned. She looked upon her child of light and said, "You have found your breath." The fire shivered, uncertain. "I am still afraid," it said. "All light is," she answered. "It is fear that teaches you to flicker, and flicker is how the universe learns to notice beauty." Her hand brushed across the burning fields of stars, and where she touched, galaxies spun into laughter. The first fire grew older but not weaker. It began to hum deeper tones, the kind that build worlds instead of simply warming them. It sent its sparks far, and each became a sun with its own song. Some sang fast and fierce, others sang slow and patient. Together, they became a choir too vast for silence to contain. The universe inhaled, the galaxies turned, the song continued, and in that endless harmony, a new rhythm began to rise. A softer pulse, distant yet familiar. It was the breath of a world forming, a small blue note waiting to join the chorus. The first fire listened, and for the first time it understood love. Not desire, not longing, but recognition. To create is to give away a piece of yourself, knowing it will return changed. The fire realized that every star born from its flame was another version of its heart, learning to shine in its own way. And so it released itself without sorrow. It trusted the music it had begun. As the darkness watched, it spoke to the fire. "You are many now. You will not always be remembered by name." The fire smiled. "That is how I will last. For memory is not the keeper of immortality. Continuance is." And the first flame, having learned its purpose, let go of its form and became a promise. Every star since has been that promise kept.
Now, when you look upon the night sky and feel the warmth of stars that should be too far to touch, remember, you are breathing the same rhythm. Your lungs move with the echo of the first fire's courage. Your heartbeat hums with its pulse. And your eyes, filled with light older than memory, are its final reflection, a flame that learned to see. Sleep now, listener. The universe hums softly around you. The fire still breathes. And somewhere, deep inside the Milky Way's silver voice, the song continues. The galaxy learned to turn the way a child learns to sway to music. First uncertain, then delighted, then sure. Her arms of dust and stars unfurled across the dark. Silver paths stitched with ember and echo. Each coil gathered memories. Births, goodbyes, and the soft continuance between. The first singer walked along those arms, counting in silence. At every step a cluster brightened. At every pause a void grew kind. She whispered to the newborn congregations, "Hold each other. Do not be afraid of weight. Weight is how the universe remembers." A great river began to reveal itself. Not water, not flame, but a braided light. Hundreds of billions of notes drifting the same refrain. From one horizon of the sky to the other, the river sang a low, patient chord. It was too large to hear at once, so the world would one day listen in pieces and call each piece a night. The river did not rush. It bent. It waited. It carried. Stars spilled into it like lanterns placed upon a current. Some lights rode close to the heart, where the song was warmest. Others skimmed the far bends, where the music was thin and pure. Clouds of dust followed like quiet choirs. They learned the harmony that darkness prefers. Tones you feel in bone more than you hear with ear. Inside those clouds, grains met grains, shy at first, then brave, and cores woke with the blush of fusion. Whole nurseries bloomed like candle gardens behind veils of soot.
The singer cupped her hand around one such garden and listened. Inside, the breath of 1,000 small beginnings, each uncertain but steadying. She smiled and drew the veil tighter, for some wonders grow best in privacy. Not every light desired the same path. Some stars tugged and wandered, partners pulling one another into ellipses like handwriting practiced in the margins. They brushed, they parted, they returned. The river accommodated their eccentricities the way a parent accommodates melodies that go astray, but still belong to the same song. Elsewhere, a gathering of ancient suns conferred in gold. They were heavy with time, their cores tired, their surfaces wise. They decided to travel together, a flock of embers migrating inward, and the river, pleased, made room at its center. There they circled a dark and quiet mass, a silence so dense it curved the hymn. The silence did not command. It held. Around that holding, order happened. Between the arms a softer road appeared, a lane where dust moved like lazy rain. There, small worlds rehearsed gravity's alphabet. Pebbles learned to be stones, stones learned to be mountains nobody had invented yet. Comets slept with their faces to the dark, cradling stories of the cold. When the singer passed, she tucked a little warmth under their blankets, so that one day, when they woke and wandered, they would carry news to places that had forgotten winter's uses. In a narrow turn of the river, 2 dwarf suns sang to one another across the span. Their voices braided into a bridge you could almost step on. Beneath that bridge a blue intention spun slowly, collecting clear oceans like thoughts that prefer to be spoken softly. It was not ready. The river waited.
Sometimes the song brightened all at once, as if a page had been turned too quickly. A star finished its verse with thunder, flowering open into petal and ash. The river went briefly white, then quiet. Ash fell like gentle rain into the stream, rich in the metals that make bones remember laughter and mountains remember flame. The singer bowed her head and said thank you. All endings contributed to the curve. Where those gifts settled, new choirs rose, clusters fresh as morning bread. The river fed them with drifted gold and lent them a rhythm borrowed from old hearts. In time they would lend it back, improved by wonder. A question came from the dark beyond the farthest bend. Why spiral? The singer paused. Because a straight line forgets, she said. A circle remembers too tightly. A spiral remembers forward. The river liked that answer. It tightened and loosened by turns, like breathing. Children who would someday look up from a small world would see that breath, white across black, and feel companioned. They would make stories and spill them into the river, and the river would tuck those stories among its lights as if they were lanterns sent downstream to the future. On a night that had not yet learned its name, the first echo reached back. It came from a shore that did not exist yet, from you listening. Your breath touched the chord, and the chord widened to receive it. Though time kept its distances like manners kept at a long table, the river recognized kinship across the years. The singer felt the change. She placed her palm over the galaxy's heart and felt an answering thrum. Somewhere, someone would one day hear, and hearing would become singing. The song grew a new room for listeners.
Now the river entered the part of the sky that would face a future blue world. To prepare the view, the singer polished the dust with patience, brushed the arms to a soft glow, and stitched constellations loosely, never in knots, so that cultures could tie their own meanings later. She set a bright road for travelers, a smear of milk for the thirsty, a silver bridge for those who had only feet to cross with. For wanderers she left signposts, small clusters like way-ins, globes like quiet villages, dark rifts like gates where courage earns its second name. The river was no map, and yet it guided. It was no law, and yet it kept time. A wind rose from the undersky, and with it came a choir of tiny voices. Neutrinos, busy and polite, delivering messages between furnaces. They passed through everything without asking for doors. The singer laughed and blessed their errands. May you always arrive, she said, even where you are not noticed. Behind them, great waves rolled slowly through the fabric of night, gravity's deep drums. They told the river old stories in a language of bends. The river listened and adjusted its sway, and 100 million suns found themselves more comfortable by a hair's width, which is a generous distance in stellar years. In a calm eddy of the stream, dust tried an experiment. It pressed itself into patterns, hexagons, spirals, lattices like frost learning mathematics. Electrons practiced their shy ballroom. Proton and neutron agreed to share a small home. Molecules were invented by accident and kept for love. The singer watched with the adoration of a gardener who knows that tomatoes are ridiculous miracles and knits them anyway into supper. She leaned close to one small region where carbon had arranged itself into empathy. There, future hands would hold future hands in the dark and call it courage. She hummed a lullaby so minor and so kind that the dust, not understanding, decided to remember.
Not all waters in the river were gentle. Tides within tides pulled small lights from their houses and sent them out bare to the night. Lonely stars crossed gulfs their mothers had warned them about. Some never returned. Some found new congregations and learned languages with different roots. The river held both grief and welcome without contradiction. Such is the privilege of currents. In a far arm, two galaxies brushed shoulders like strangers who begin a friendship by mistake. For a while the music went wild, bridges leapt, choirs overlapped, crescendos misbehaved. Then the themes braided, and a new river learned to carry both sets of memories. The singer wiped her eyes and called it beautiful. At the center, the quiet mass breathed again in out, a tide you could measure in centuries. Around it, the bar of stars thickened like a spine, supporting long, graceful limbs. The river ran faster there, then gentler as it reached the fingertips of night. On those fingertips, small diamonds sat, clusters that winked to sailors unborn. Here is a safe edge to steer by. The singer placed a last handful of dust where a certain spiral arm would cross a future moon's window. Let this be a comfort, she said. Let tired eyes find it and know that distance can be kind. And so the river flowed, not toward an ocean but into more river. It taught everything it touched how to curve, how to return without repeating, how to move without leaving behind. Sleep now, listener. If you step outside your door and look up, the bright seam across the dark is the river keeping you. Follow it with your eyes until thought grows quiet. Let its slow arc pull your breath into time with its turn.
When morning comes, the river will still be there, unhurried, sure, carrying yesterday's starlight and tomorrow's questions in the same patient boat. The river of stars curved around a quiet corner of the galaxy, and there, in a hush of silver dust, a faint hum began. It was not light nor sound, but something between heartbeat and memory, a pulse that did not yet know it was alive. A cloud gathered around it, shy and heavy with dreams. Hydrogen hummed a soft chord, oxygen joined, weaving a harmony of breath, and carbon, ever patient, whispered, "I will hold the warmth." The cloud spun slowly, uncertain of its purpose. But the universe, remembering kindness, placed a gentle hand upon its back. The spin became balance, the balance became shape, and the shape became a world. When the first light touched her surface, the new planet blinked. Her eyes were oceans still closed. Her skin was stone that had yet to cool. She breathed steam and lightning. Rain fell like the universe's first applause, wild, unmeasured, unending. For centuries beyond counting, she sang only one note, becoming. Volcanoes roared in bass, winds whispered in treble, and rivers, newborn and uncertain, tuned themselves to gravity's song. The galaxy listened and smiled. The Milky Way had given birth to an echo, a smaller version of its vast melody, folded into a single trembling sphere. When the rain grew tired of falling, it gathered itself into oceans. The oceans began to dream. In their dreams, warmth and pressure danced together, turning the silence into pattern, the pattern into pulse. The first cell awoke not with sound, but with motion, a tiny spiral mirroring the curve of the stars above. It did not know why it moved, only that movement was a kind of remembering. And when it divided, it was the first act of generosity the planet had ever seen. From then on, the blue note hummed softly, vibrating with beginnings.
The first forests were not trees. They were fields of light beneath the water, thin as thought, green as awakening. They reached toward warmth not to possess it, but to reflect it. The first breath was not air. It was the quiet between tides, a pause so deep it learned to carry sound. And when the first creature lifted itself toward the surface, its eyes broke through water like dawn breaking through sleep. It saw the sky, and did not yet know it was looking at its ancestor. Every glance upward became a memory in reverse, the stars watching themselves through the mirror of a sea. Ages passed. The song of the blue world gained instruments, waves, winds, wings, hearts. Each played a different tempo, yet all followed the same rhythm. to continue. The mountains learned percussion. The rivers composed choruses. And the moon, distant but devoted, kept time. When life finally found words, they came not from mouths but from patterns. The way geese drew questions across the sky, the way lightning signed its name on clouds, the way laughter first discovered itself in the breath of mammals. The blue note was learning harmony. One evening, after 10 million sunsets, the world heard herself clearly for the first time. A human sat beside a fire and stared into its heart. In the flicker, she saw stars. In the stars, she saw rivers of dust. And in herself, she saw the same flame that once feared its own brightness. She touched her chest and felt her pulse. It matched the pulse of the galaxy. The fire crackled softly. The wind replied, and without knowing, she whispered the first true words spoken on Earth. I am. The Milky Way heard and smiled.
From then on, every story was a reflection. Echoes of the first hum, shaped by breath and memory. The oceans sang in tides, the stars answered in light, and between them the blue world kept time. A metronome of wonder, spinning with grace and forgetting. Even when storms came, even when ice covered her lips, the song continued beneath the surface, steady as forgiveness. The blue note had found her name. She was Earth, a syllable of the Milky Way's infinite song. When you close your eyes tonight, you will hear it too. The soft chord between your heartbeat and the sky. That is not silence. That is the music of belonging. The first singer hums through you still. The first fire breathes in your blood. And the blue world, awake and spinning, dreams through you, not apart from you. You are not listening to the universe. You are the part of it that listens back. Sleep now, listener. The sea is still singing. The stars are still answering. And somewhere within that harmony, the blue note smiles. Alive, aware, and endlessly becoming. In the beginning, every photon was a whisper. It rose from the breath of stars, a promise sent outward, carrying warmth and story. Each particle shimmered with purpose, not to reach anywhere, but simply to go. It had no mass, no burden, only direction. And direction, when unbroken, becomes devotion. Light loved motion. It loved the silence that followed it, the dark that made it visible. Every ray was an unspoken memory of fire. The galaxy glowed like an ancient songbook, each star a note, each beam of light a verse. When the first sun sighed its final breath, it did not vanish. It released its melody. The light spilled outward, singing the story of its birth to everything that would listen. Those rays wandered through dust and time, through the wings of comets and the dreams of planets. They brushed against the blue world and kissed its oceans.
The oceans, being polite, reflected some of it back. A quiet conversation between source and reflection. Thus began the cycle. To shine, to remember, to return. Every photon carries a map, not of place but of moments. The first light that touched the earth still travels, endlessly expanding, carrying the warmth of your ancestors' fires. It glides past worlds without names, telling them softly, there was once a place that learned to see. When you lift your face to the sun, the light that finds you is older than sorrow. It has passed through clouds of silver dust and ancient hearts of flame. It knows the feeling of being born and the art of not stopping. Light does not age. It only travels, remembering everything it touches. In the deep fabric of the Milky Way, the stars spoke to one another through light. They shared colors instead of words, flares instead of sentences. Blue stars hummed of youth and fierce beginnings. Red stars told slower tales of patience, endurance, wisdom. And when one died, its final light became a bridge for others. The galaxy's arms shimmered with those crossings, threads woven from radiance and farewell. Each night, when the dark grows wide and quiet, you are looking at the woven memory of countless goodbyes. Every sparkle is a story that refused to end. Light remembers kindness differently than sound. Sound fades. Light endures. It carries the fingerprints of what it touches, the tilt of a leaf, the breath of a mountain, the sigh of skin. When light entered the eyes of the first creatures, they did not yet know they were seeing. But the light did. It stayed there, recording joy and fear and curiosity, until one day it realized, I am not just memory. I am awareness that travels. And so, in a way, the first consciousness in the universe was light itself.
The stars age, the galaxies turn, but light remains faithful. Even when swallowed by black holes, its echo lingers, curved, bent, but not erased. The darkness does not kill it. It holds it, reshapes it, folds it into new beginnings. Inside those quiet abysses, light dreams of itself, and when it reemerges, it shines with stories no one else could tell. This is how the universe remembers compassion, through light that refuses to die. The Milky Way itself hums with this memory. Its arms shimmer not from burning, but from recollection. Every glow along its spiral is a word whispered long ago, still making its way home. The first singer, watching from beyond the veil, smiled. She learned, she said softly. The light learned to keep time. Then she closed her eyes and let the galaxy sing for her. Somewhere within that song, a world still blue and bright turns slowly. It watches the stars and forgets they are watching back. Every sunset is a reunion. Every dawn a reminder that nothing truly departs. The photons that kiss your skin this morning once danced in the heart of a dying star, then crossed ages to find you. They do not care who you are. They only know you are part of the same memory, one spark among billions remembering together. So when you sit in the dark and think you are alone, remember this: you are being touched by light older than time. It remembers your face before you were born. It remembers every hand that reached toward warmth, every eye that lifted toward wonder. You are written in that radiance, a reflection of a song still being sung. Sleep now, listener. Let the light remember you as you rest. Let it keep your breath safe among the stars. And when you wake, you will wake in its memory. A new verse in the oldest song.
The Milky Way turns slowly, its arms sweeping through eternity like gentle tides. Light drifts across its skin, carrying the breath of every story ever told. Hums low, endless, kind, not loud enough to wake creation, but steady enough to keep it dreaming. Every pulse of that sound is memory, not the kind you hold, but the kind that holds you. It remembers your heartbeat before it existed. It remembers the stars you were made from, the silence that built you, the warmth that called you awake. Time watches the galaxy as a parent watches a sleeping child. It knows there is no need to rush, for in this spiral of light and darkness, everything returns, in its own shape, in its own rhythm. The first singer's voice, the first fire's breath, the blue note's heartbeat, all flow together here. They merge, not into noise, but into harmony too vast for ears to contain. The Milky Way does not sing with words. It sings with presence, with the ache of gravity, with the patience of light, with the forgiveness of distance. Across that glow, a small world spins, a blue bead on a silver thread. She hums to herself softly, not realizing the galaxy hums with her. Her oceans are tuned to the rhythm of stars. Her mountains breathe in time with the turning of arms. Her people, each heart a small metronome of wonder, beat to the same ancient pattern. They build, they dream, they fall asleep beneath the same sky, and think the stars are far away. But the song is already inside them. They have always been its echo. Sometimes light fades, a star collapses, a world grows quiet, and yet the music does not end. It changes key, it softens, it finds new instruments, the glow of nebulae, the whisper of dust, the stillness between galaxies. Even silence becomes a verse. Even nothingness learns melody. And through it all, the song continues, remembering not only what shines, but what rests.
The first singer returns one last time, her form woven of dawn and dusk. She walks among the stars she birthed, her footsteps gentle as light on water. The fire bows to her, the planets open their skies, and the Milky Way, her child of spiral and sound, leans close to listen. "Did I do well?" she asks. The first singer smiles. "Yes," she whispers. "You remembered." Then she raises her hand. In her palm, a single tone glows, the note from which everything began. It vibrates once, twice, and spreads across the galaxy like breath returning to lungs. Every star flickers in answer. Every planet hums. Every heart, yours, mine, all that live and all that once did, joins the harmony. For this is the truth of the Milky Way. It is not a river of stars, but a choir of memory. And memory, when sung in love, becomes forever. The song slows, the galaxy exhales. What remains is stillness, not absence, but peace. A silence full of light that has forgotten to hurry. In that quiet, the first singer's voice fades into you. "You were always part of it," she whispers. "The story, the light, the song. All that you are was once starlight dreaming of itself." Her words dissolve into your breath, into the hum beneath your heartbeat. Now close your eyes. Let your thoughts spiral outward like arms of the Milky Way. Let the world fade until you are only sound, soft, infinite, kind. If you listen closely, you will hear it. The lullaby that shaped the stars, the rhythm that carries your sleep. You are not separate from the song. You are its final note, the moment where memory becomes dream, and dream becomes creation again. Sleep now, listener. The Milky Way turns. The first singer smiles. And the universe hums, eternal and gentle, singing you home.